Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies, inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello and welcome. This is Mark with Wake Up Heavy and the first episode of the Women in Horror Month series. And today I'm going to be talking about 1982's The Slumber Party Massacre. I don't think it's necessary to express my lack of interest in slashers overall again, although I guess I just did. But I thought I would talk about this movie because it has an interesting pedigree. And it was written by noted feminist author and activist Rita Mae Brown as a parody of the slasher film. Now, how Roger Corman got a hold of this script, I don't know, but this was one of his productions, and I don't know that he was most well known for his social commentary. He had a history of making cheap, quick movies that always turned a profit, and by the time that they could include overt sex and nudity, they usually did. This is the case with movies like Humanoids from the Deep, which was also directed by a woman originally. There wasn't enough violence and nudity in that, so another guy came in and filmed some extra scenes. And it's actually kind of a fun movie. It's pretty crazy and really sleazy. I guess I could have chosen that one to talk about since it was directed by a woman, but I'm pretty sure that she disowned the movie after the other scenes were shot and inserted into it. This was directed by Amy Holden Jones, and it's my understanding that at the time she had the option of either directing this movie or editing E.T., and she chose to direct this. So whether that was a good choice or not, I don't know. She's written all kinds of movies and TV shows and TV movies over the years. She only directed, I think, 3 more projects after this, but she is the writer of one of the, I guess, most popular rom-coms of the 80s, Mystic Pizza, which launched Julia Roberts and many of the other actresses in that movie into their massive careers. And she wrote the first Beethoven movie, everybody's favorite Saint Bernard. This was not on my radar back in the day. I think I kind of lumped it together with things like the House on Sorority Row, Sleepover Massacre, all the late entries into the slasher genre that were just trying to capitalize on what was a pretty basic formula. By 1982, when this movie was put out, that formula was already being taken to task by parents, by the moral majority, and by numerous critics. Siskel and Ebert actually devoted a whole episode to slasher films, not in praise of them, but rather to rail against the violence and misogyny and sexism that was kind of inherent in the films. Now, whether all of that was the ultimate goal of filmmakers? I doubt. I think they were looking at the dollar signs that these films were generating and decided that sex and violence sold. Now, the slasher formula, which I've kind of discussed in the past, basically young kids being stalked by a either masked or unknown killer, usually wielding a knife of some sort or a machete. And of course, the connotation here is that it's a sexually repressed man taking out his frustrations on young nubile women with a phallic substitute. And this is pretty easy stuff to parody, and that was the intent of Rita Mae Brown's script. But in the hands of Roger Corman and Amy Holden Jones, the film was shot straight. There are odd touches of comedy and commentary in the film that really just ended up giving the movie a kind of a strange little vibe. I don't know what the differences are between the script and what ended up on film, but I would assume that the script was a little more pointed in its indictment of the slasher genre. And like I say, some of that still kind of comes through, and that's probably the only thing that really makes this movie of interest, at least to me. It's a pretty basic slasher. It actually kind of fails as a slasher movie. There's very little tension. There's not a ton of violence, and most of the quote-unquote kills are off-screen. There's a touch of gore here and there, but it's definitely not excessive. It's not gratuitous, but I can't quite say the same thing about the nudity, and that's sort of where I think the tone maybe of Brown's script kind of peeks through a little bit more strongly. There is a scene at the beginning of Brian De Palma's Carrie that takes place in the girls' locker room and or shower, and it is a long, slow-motion shot of all these young women taking a shower. It always kind of made me a little bit uncomfortable. I think mostly because of the slow motion, and we have full frontal nudity with numerous background actors and even some of the main actors. And the point is to lead up to Carrie's discovery of her period and how she is mocked and belittled by the other girls, and off we go with the movie. But it's shot with like soft lighting and slow motion, like it's romantic or something. And there is a similar scene in the Slumber Party Massacre where we have all of these young girls that we've been introduced to taking a shower after their basketball game or practice. And the camera pans over the girls, pans over their bodies very slowly and very deliberately. So we're getting Corman's requisite TNA here, but there's something else going on. And if you're not very self-aware, it's going to go right over your head. And I think the intended audience for these films is going to miss the subtext here. And when I was watching it the other day for this episode, I thought about the movie Funny Games. And either one, they're both directed by the same guy, and they're basically the same movie. And that was kind of an indictment on video game and movie violence, and it's really in your face. I mean, they break the fourth wall in the movie to even express this explicitly. Oh, this is what you want. Here it is. You should feel bad for wanting it. And it's a lot more subtle in the Slumber Party Massacre, but I think we've got the same kind of idea going on. Oh, you came here for tits and ass. Here it is in long, slow shots over their bodies. How do you feel about it? And I think most people are going to be like, oh, there's a shitload of nudity in this movie. Yay. Not the reaction that they were probably shooting for. Plus, it's not the only instance of nudity in the movie. There are a couple of other occasions. It's all done, mostly isn't sexualized. There's one scene where a couple is making out and you see her breast, but for the most part, it's girls changing their clothes, and, you know, this is a natural thing, and when we change clothes or when we take showers, we get naked. And so the indictment is on the viewer. It's not in your face, and whether it was in the script or not, I don't know. But it does still come through for viewers that maybe look past the surface a little bit. And we've got our two obligatory horny teen boys who are leering into the bedroom window while the girls change, and they have come to raid the slumber party. And of course, they are our stand-ins as an audience. One thing I do like about the movie, and appreciate this in all slasher films, for the most part, these are likable characters. There's one kind of snotty girl, but other than that, they're not mean or nasty to each other, and that just always makes something a little more enjoyable for me to watch. And we have a couple other points in the movie where the one of the final girls, Valerie, who is the new girl at school, she and her younger sister, Courtney, are looking through a Playgirl magazine. So we have kind of a switch here. They are ogling the male form. And again, it's just kind of strange enough to make you go, But I don't think that it's a pointed enough comment to make most people think, oh, you know, I should feel bad for this. These movies are misogynistic, they're sexist, and I don't know if that was the original intent of Brown or not, but it really just ends up giving the film an odd little quirk. And there is a line of dialogue in this scene where Valerie is kind of poking fun at her sister.
Yuck! Oh, Faker, you were beating off boys in the 5th grade. I was not, you creep.
And I had to stop and rewind it to make sure I had heard what she said correctly.
Oh, Faker, you were beating off boys in the 5th grade.
And yes, that's what she says. And so when I was watching it the other day, my dad brain stopped and went, you better not be beating off boys in the 5th grade. And I had to think, okay, is that what they meant? Or did they mean like beating off with the stick? She had to rebuff advances of all her horny little 5th grade friends. I don't know. It's an odd choice of words, and it really stuck out.
That's weird.
Other than that, there is very little that I like in the movie. It is short. It's about 77 minutes long, which I appreciated. It was supposed to be 90 originally, and I don't know what extra scenes they had, but I kind of thank God that they didn't include them. You feel the full 77 minutes. Not too terribly much happens. The killer is completely uninteresting to me. He is unmasked the whole time, but he's wearing, it's just, for some reason, it doesn't work for me. At one point in the movie, towards the end, he finally starts talking to the girls, and he says something about why he's doing this, and it's because he loves them. And it's the one kind of creepy moment in the movie, and I sort of wish that they had him do that the whole time. But no, it's just at the end. And other than that, there really aren't that many. There's one interesting kind of scene where Valerie is watching Hollywood Boulevard on TV, another Roger Corman production. And it's intercut with the action in the film, and it works pretty well. There's a kind of cool crane shot at the beginning of the movie when Michelle Bauer gets stalked by the killer. And that is about it for me. And I really like flourishes like that, but they just happen one or two times in this film. So I struggled to lend it my full attention. I think one of the more noted parody aspects of the film is the killer's choice of weapon, a gigantic battery-powered drill that is a very obvious phallic symbol, and that was shown in the famous poster. And then there is one shot in the movie where he is standing with his legs spread and the drill is coming down between his legs. And if you miss the point of that, then I guess you're kind of probably going to miss some of the more subtle details. And one of our final girls actually chops the tip of it off with her machete at the end. And that's kind of maybe one of the other interesting points. There are two final girls. It's Valerie, the new girl, and Trish, the popular friendly girl. And they live next door to each other. And having that separation is kind of strange to me. And it was confusing. Both times I watched this movie, I couldn't keep track of who we were following. And I always think, and I think maybe, it makes sense to follow the new girl in the school from her, getting ready in the morning and going to school and all this. And that's not who we follow. We're not introduced to her until the basketball practice. And we are following Trish from the morning on, her plans for having her slumber party, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't quite get the point of it. It really just kind of confused me. And then the other thing that I think they sort of missed a golden opportunity with was the creepy neighbor, Mr. Content, who could have very easily been a red herring in the movie. But again, we see the killer pretty quickly at the beginning, and Mr. Content is just sort of this strange neighbor that likes to kill snails with a meat cleaver.
And this is the only good way to get them.
I think the one thing that I'm grateful for is that it's not a yuck parody like, what's the movie? Student Bodies, because that, again, comedy/horror, not my favorite cup of tea. There's one kind of funny line when the girls have ordered pizza and the delivery guy shows up and knocks on the door, and the guys ask him, what's the damage? And he says,
6 so far.
And we quickly discover that it was actually the killer that said this, and he is talking about how many people he has killed so far. And it's still not really played explicitly for laughs, but again, a little bit funny. There have been numerous sequels. The first 2 sequels were also directed by women, and I thought, well, they're available, so let's dive in. I watched part 2 and didn't like it. Didn't enjoy it. And I am of the belief that every movie has its fans. I'm sure there are people out there that love it, love the camp of it, love the really atrocious late 80s look of it. I didn't like it. It stars Crystal Bernard, who I always think of as being Casey Cunningham on the shitty years of Happy Days. And so right off the bat, I was like, oh crap. There's musical breaks in the movie. She's in a band. They perform a couple times. The killer, for whatever reason, is like a rockabilly 50s dude with, and his drill is on his guitar. Totally ridiculous. Crystal Bernard is supposed to be Courtney, the younger sister from the first film. I think they probably kind of retconned that. They probably had a script and they said, let's connect this loosely to the first one. It is a minute shorter than Slumber Party Massacre, and it feels like it's about an hour longer. I really didn't care for it. And I decided, well, I think I'm done with the franchise, and I'm not going to be continuing with part 3 and with the cheerleader massacre movies that are apparently quote-unquote sequels as well. But the original is on Amazon Prime, so if you are a member, it wouldn't kill you to watch it. And if you do watch it and don't like it, don't blame me. Next week, I think I'm going to actually watch a movie that I enjoy, and I'm kind of getting the itch to talk about The Invitation, and I've been thinking about rewatching it anyway, and so this is the perfect opportunity to do that. And we'll probably touch on Jennifer's Body as well, because it's from the same writer-director, or actually the same director. Jennifer's Body was written by Diablo Cody, so maybe a little 2-for-1 there. Thank you for listening. This is the first episode of the Women in Horror Month special series. And don't forget to wake up heavy.